Alright, peace, family, peace. Know what I'm saying? Come at y'all today with a little Akashic Records. I'm gonna get right into this. Of the Akashic Records and why it is not of African origin. Now, y'all excuse me, I'm a little bit hoarse. My voice a little hoarse. The Akashic Records are a Western metaphysical concept that refers to a cosmic storehouse of the entirety of human experience. They are said to exist on a subtle plane of material reality that can be accessed by ascended beings and clairvoyants. The term itself derives from the Sanskrit word Akasha, which was adopted and transformed by the members of the Theosophical movement during the 19th century. So y'all gotta realize that although the word Akasha exists, it was transformed and used by the Theosophy movement, which is some bullshit. We're gonna get into that, and if you seen the Lumeria video, you're gonna be familiar with some of the names I put out here. So Charles W. Leadbeater, who first popularized the term within the Theosophical discourse, defines it as the memory of nature and the only really reliable history of the world. The concept became prominent within Theosophical doctrine and trickled down into derivative moments such as Rudolf Steiner's anthroposophy and the occult works of Alice A. Bailey before dispersing throughout the New Age movement of the late 20th century. Akasha signifies space, atmosphere, or sky in the Sanskrit language and appears in the complex system of Indian metaphysics known as Samkhya as one of the 5 elements making up gross material nature. Early Indo-ologists, people that study India and shit, associated Akasha with the concept of ether due to its apparent similarity to the latter's status as the 5th element of the ancient Greeks. When Helen Blavatsky, I know y'all remember that name, drew on both Eastern and Western metaphysics and codifying the foundations of the Theosophical doctrine, she cemented the occult association between the two terms. Blavatsky herself never used the term Akashic Records, but spoke of an etheric, astral, or Akashic level of reality, which exists just beyond the ordinary gross sphere of material nature. Her contemporary, Alfred P. Sinnett, referenced the idea of permanent records in the Akasha in his esoteric Buddhism. And we're going to get into who he is in a minute. When discussing the spiritual, him and Charles Leadbeater. When discussing the spiritual progression of the Buddha's many births. So that's what this book was about, I guess. The concept was obvious parallels with the Indian thought, specifically were dealing with the metaphysics of karma and transmigrating self, and it appears that the later Theosophists drew primarily on these ideas when they eventually introduced the term into their discussion of subtle materiality. The particular term was first used by Leadbeater in his Theosophical Manual number 6, derived from his earlier treatment of the records of the astral light, which he described as a photographic representation of everything that has ever happened. Leadbeater has also canonized the idea that a spiritual adept or a clairvoyant may be capable of accessing the Akashic Records for the purpose of gaining knowledge of lost histories or subtle truths. Now I want y'all to use common sense and think about, like, if this shit was possible for them to do, they would have been a lot more prominent people on this planet. You know what I'm saying? These would be everyday household names if these people could go and get the history of everything that other people done seen, people ain't seen. You know what I'm saying? This is just some shit they made up. You know what I'm saying? And they found a word that fit the general term and slightly changed it for their using. You know what I'm saying? It's not an African concept. The Akashic Records is not an African concept. It's a Western occult concept, and the word has a Indian origin. That's it. So here go Alfred Percy Sinnett. You know what I'm saying? This the dude that made the Buddhist book. And you see here at the bottom. My bad. You see here at the bottom in 1880, Helen Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott visited the Sinnetts at their summer home in Somalia. So they was cool, you know what I'm saying? He was hella cool with her. They visiting her at the summer home and shit like that. So he wasn't no damn linguist or nothing special, you know what I'm saying? He was an English author and shit. They came up with some shit that apparently fooled black people again. So we're gonna get into the case. This is more recent, you know what I'm saying? This is a little bit more recent. That's why I threw him in here. In the mid-20th century, Edward Case was the only person reading the Akashic Records publicly. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to realize this white dude, I ain't getting no picture of him. He's the only dude he was reading the Akashic Records publicly at this time. He was known as the sleeping prophet because of his method of accessing the records was to put himself into a sleep state that allowed him to shift his consciousness across the Akasha. While in this state, Case relayed information while someone else took notes. Upon awakening, he shifted back to his ordinary state of consciousness and remembered nothing of what had transpired. I'm telling you, white people play games with you, man, and act like, and just do that shit. Act like they don't know what the fuck happened. For 43 years, Case gave daily Akashic Records readings. Today, those readings, more than 14,000 of them, are available to the public and provide a wealth of information about the Akashic Records themselves. So you're telling me this nigga had all the information of time before, after, and present for 43 years. You know what I'm saying? And you can go access this shit. Motherfuckers ain't winning the lottery every day. They not, man, come on. It's just stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? If you had access for 43 years of information, that was just everything that happened, period. Man, this shit, come on, man. We got to start using common sense. As well as answers to thousands of questions related to health and spirituality. What is significant for us today about Case's work is that he popularized the Akashic Records through Theosophist H.P. Blavatsky and anthropophysicist Rudolf Steiner referred to the Akashic Records in their writings. It was not until Case's work in the early mid-20th century that the Akashic readings became a familiar practice in the movement of consciousness development. So this nigga brought this shit into the conscious community. Yeah, really, in some areas, you know, there's not a racially divided community. You know, the occult community isn't so racially divided as people think it is. But you know what I'm saying, it don't change the fact that, you know, we using that shit like it's an African concept, you know what I'm saying? You know, you can't use nothing without knowing the history behind it. It should make you look crazy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all bang on the Bible users all the time about the history and don't know the history about none of the stuff y'all talking about. So we're going to get into this. I got this from the book Lady Liberty, the Ancient Goddess of America. It's a really interesting book. I suggest y'all check it out. But this is the excerpt I got. The liberals' left campaign of social engineering. In the 1930s, Margaret Sanger, we all know she the Planned Parenthood lady who didn't like black people and shit. She published a magazine entitled The Birth Control Review, which openly supported the infanticide program publicly championed by Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime as a goal of Aryan white supremacy. A strong advocate of population control, Sandra openly supported the Nazi plan for genetic engineering of the German population and the propagation of a super race that was rooted in the occult and became a religion of the blood. Now, I want to let y'all know that they form of the occult is a racist form of occult. Now, this Helen Blavatsky came up with this Aryan race shit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people in white supremacists, they got that shit from her. That's the reason, she the reason that they used the swastika. You know what I'm saying? That shit all came from Helen Blavatsky. Helen Blavatsky, looking, I'm going to go down to the next part. I was going to get ahead of myself. Unknown to many, both Margaret Sanger and Adolf Hitler were disciples of Madame Blavatsky, the founder of a religion that, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, worship Lucifer.
Why are these esoteric doctrines important to Hitler? What does the occult allow us to do? It allows us to take the supernatural, that is the highest source of authority, in a realm that is not regulated by the church. The universal message of salvation of Christianity is absolutely not going to work out for you if you're on a genocidal mission.
A year before Hitler's birth, one of the occult doctrines that would foreshadow Nazism was spelled out for the whole world in an unlikely place by an unlikely writer. Living in London is a Russian aristocrat turned best-selling author named Madame Helena Blavatsky. In more than 1,000 pages, Blavatsky rewrites the history of the world, from the creation to the present. Her story is based on unconventional sources: Babylonian astrology, Egyptian hieroglyphics, and a mishmash of the occult.
She's not making it up, but what's great about this kind of information, it has all the power of a lost great civilization, but the people who used to control this information and regulate it are all gone now. So it can mean whatever you need it to mean.
It did. As Blavatsky tells it, giants from the lost continent of Atlantis produced a race of supermen, the Aryans. Blavatsky's book is mysticism masquerading as history, but it sells. Timing is everything, and a book challenging the standard version of history arrived at the right time. For nearly 2,000 years, the Bible was gospel truth. Then, Darwin challenges the very origins of history. New evidence of evolution shakes people's faith. The late 19th century was the heyday of a new kind of religion, spiritualism, based on the belief that the living could contact the dead.
Spiritualism was not something that was on the fringes. By the time that Hitler was born, there was a new wave of spiritualism.
A wave of palm reading and astrology, tarot cards and seances, with believers from Mary Lincoln to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, to an audience starving for fresh answers. Blavatsky's occult opus is a banquet.
Blavatsky is important because of her showmanship, because occult traditions were by their very nature elite, secret practices, but she tells the whole world about it.
So here we got her star right here, her little symbol, You see, this is where Adolf got his swastika from. A lot of people don't know this shit. That's where he got all this Aryan superior race bullshit from. And she was talking about some motherfuckers that didn't even exist when she came up with the concept. So we're going to get into this right here. Hitler's Religion. You know what I'm saying? It's a book from Hitler. People won't think I'll just be making this shit up. For a while, he was a follower of the pan-German Schroeder, whose biological racism and anti-Semitism seemed to resonate with him. He stayed abreast of scientific racist literature written by non-religious freethinkers, but he also drew inspiration from occult and esoteric sources such as Theosophy. Under the leadership of Madame Blavatsky, Theosophy had tried to blend a mystical racism with a scientific view of an evolutionary hierarchy of races. This is where they got this shit from, you know what I'm saying? Despite professing the brotherhood of all humanity, Theosophy taught racial inequality, and Blavatsky even endorsed the extermination of inferior races. So you seeing where all these people motivation came from, Margaret Sanger and Hitler and shit. Lanz also drew inspiration from non-mystical, non-occult sources such as the physician and racial theorist Ludwig Waltman. Before founding his own journal, Lanz wrote an extended review of Waltman's book, Die Politische Anthropologie, for a free-thinking journal, and waxed enthusiastic about Waltman's racist doctrine of Nordic superiority. You know what I'm saying? So this was a cult philosophy built off white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? And she popularized. I mean, she took that swastika and popularized it for him. You know what I'm saying? Again, I want everybody to subscribe to my page, Conscious Republic. We on Facebook too. It's Conscious Republic. Instagram, Conscious Republic. You know, thanks for watching the video.